I'm Dr. Zeeshan with the Nonprofit Physicians Committee in Washington, D.C. Today, I will talk about plant-based nutrition for chronic disease prevention with a special focus on type 2 diabetes prevention and reversal. In 2017, a study on the global burden of diseases, risk factors, and injuries got published in Lancet. The study analyzed long-term trends for leading causes of death and disorders in India from 1990 to 2016. In 1990, leading causes of death and disorders in India were malnutrition, diarrheal diseases, protein energy malnutrition, measles, maternal disorders, typhoid fevers, tuberculosis. But in 2016, we saw a completely different picture. The investigators were shocked to see that the three leading causes of mortality were cardiovascular diseases, respiratory diseases, and diabetes, together accounting for a substantial proportion of total deaths in India. In absolute terms, in 2016, these chronic diseases killed around 4 million Indians, and most of these deaths were premature, occurring among Indians aged 30 to 70 years. And do you know why we South Asians should get more worried about these non-communicable diseases or chronic diseases? The reason is that overweight and obesity occur at a lower body mass index in South Asia. The body mass index cutoff for overweight is 23 in South Asians instead of 25 among whites, and cutoff for obesity is more than 25 instead of above 30. Obesity in South Asians has certain characteristics features. For any given level of body mass index, South Asians tend to have higher body fat, abdominal fat, liver fat, and pancreatic fat, and lower lean mass, along with increased insulin resistance and dysmetabolic state than whites. And the problem is that its prevalence is increasing in both urban and rural population of India. So more to worry about. As a matter of fact, type 2 diabetes rates are escalating in children and are being reported in kids as young as age 8 years old. And type 2 diabetes was rare in children 20 to 30 years ago. The complications appear earlier and are more severe when type 2 diabetes begins in childhood or adolescence. And the risk factors are obesity, mom with gestational diabetes, and family history. So, what are the reasons for high prevalence of diabetes and other chronic diseases in India? Number one, Indians developed diabetes and heart disease a decade earlier. Number two, increasing levels of risk factors for cardiovascular diseases and diabetes, including high systolic blood pressure, high total cholesterol, high fasting plasma glucose, and high body mass index. And number three, these conditions remain undiagnosed due to insufficient healthcare access. With the current trends, the proportion of total deaths from these non-communicable diseases will continue to increase. In 2011, the World Health Organization identified the four big lifestyle culprits to cause diabetes and other chronic diseases as being a sedentary lifestyle, tobacco use, alcohol consumption, and an unhealthy diet. And what is an unhealthy diet? World Health Organization defines an unhealthy diet as one that is based on processed foods with added fat, sugar, and salt, and animal products rich in saturated fats. It is low in vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and other high fiber foods. So that is an unhealthy diet. And thanks to McDonald's and Pizza Hut and KFC, dietary habits in India have completely changed. They have become fully westernized. People here are eating a Western diet, and we have given up our traditional ways of eating grains, legumes, fruits, and vegetables. The Indian diet is shifting away from agricultural staple-based foods to modern processed foods with higher total energy, total fat, and sugar. So let's understand, why are we eating this way in India and in fact all around the world. There is an easy access to high fat, low fiber and high cholesterol meals. Number 2, convenient prepared foods are offered by modern retailers at competitively low prices. Number 3, there is an increased consumption of commercial processed food. A marked shift has occurred in consumer preferences towards energy dense processed foods and away from nutrient rich foods. There is a decreased consumption of carbohydrates and increased consumption of fats. So, these are all the factors why this is happening in India. And the problem with fats is easy to understand. It's the calories. So 1 gram of sugar has 4 calories and 1 gram of fat has 9 calories. The diet in India is very high in fat. Here people consume a lot of chicken, oil, dairy, ghee, paneer, milk and khoya sweets in everyday life and especially during festivals or weddings or any celebrations. Paneer, for example, has 45% calories that come from fats, while okra bhindi has only 2% calories from fats. So, and do you know who are the people living a healthy lifestyle and who are at the lowest risk to get these chronic diseases? These are people living in the blue zones. The lifestyle practices that are common to all blue zones are they are family oriented people, they eat a plant based diet, they consume a lot of legumes, and they are physically active and socially engaged, and they do not smoke. So, if we can try to copy them, our lifestyle diseases might be vanished. How do we know that plant based diet that is eaten in the blue zones is effective? Well, the evidence is rapidly building on the power of plant based diets in preventing and reversing disease. If you see the results from some big observational studies like EPIC Oxford study or Adventist Health study that tracks the health of participants and studies the differences in health outcomes of 4 groups: vegetarians, vegans, pescatarians like fish eaters, and meat eaters. You will see that vegans, those who are eating a plant based diet, had the lowest prevalence of diabetes and heart disease and had the lowest body mass index. So, what we know from these 2 big observational studies is that people following a plant based diet have healthier body weights, have low risk of type 2 diabetes compared with meat eaters. Now, let's see some interventional studies that have used plant based diets to reverse chronic diseases. Dr. Dean Ornish, the Lifestyle Heart trial was the first randomized clinical trial to investigate whether patients with heart disease could be motivated to make and sustain comprehensive lifestyle changes, and if so, whether plaque formation in arteries could be stopped or reversed without using lipid lowering drugs. In simple terms, the researchers wanted to check if heart disease can be reversed. After 1 year, the experimental group people had a drop of 24% in their total cholesterol. Their LDL cholesterol dropped by 37%. On an average, people lost 10 kg weight, and most importantly, 82% of the participants reversed their coronary artery disease. Most of these lifestyle trials have also included exercise, thus making it impossible to isolate diet effects. Dr. Bernard at the Physicians Committee decided to conduct a study where he could test the effects of a low-fat vegan diet in individuals with type 2 diabetes without increasing their exercises. It was a randomized controlled trial where 99 people were recruited with hemoglobin A1C around 8. They were divided into 2 groups: portion controlled diet versus plant based diet, a diet without any animal product. The result were fascinating. In the experimental group, hemoglobin A1C dropped by 1.2 percentage points and it was sustainable. And why are plant based diets so effective? They get to the root cause of the disease. They effectively disable the driver of chronic diseases like inflammation, lipotoxicity, dysbiosis, oxidative stress. And I want to give you an example of insulin resistance and show you how fats in diet cause type 2 diabetes. The process that leads to type 2 diabetes begins with insulin resistance, particularly in muscle and liver cells. Here is what you need to know. Muscle cells need fuel to run like any machine that runs on fuel. Insulin is like a key to the door. It attaches to its receptors to open the door for the glucose to enter the cell. However, if you are on a Western diet or any high-fat diet, what will happen to this mechanism inside the cell? Particles of fat called intramyocellular lipid build up in the muscle cell if you are eating a high-fat diet. So researchers believe that this buildup of intracellular fat interferes with insulin signaling. So even though insulin attaches normally to the cellular receptors, it has trouble helping glucose to enter. When you change your diet and go on a low-fat plant-based diet, this buildup of fats inside cells start disappearing and cells start becoming insulin sensitive. That means the insulin resistance is going away. So what is a low-fat plant-based diet? It would be one that is very high in fiber. It will have low glycemic index, and glycemic index gives an idea of the glucose released from the food. It will be low in fat. It will be high in antioxidants. It will have low omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. So my recommendation here is eat traditional foods. No deprivation. These are delicious, satisfying foods. These are the foods that we can eat without worrying about diabetes and heart disease. Number one, you can eat 100% whole wheat chapatis, dal chawal and sabzi. Number two, tarkari without oil, methi paratha without oil, bhel puri, veg biryani. There are so many choices for us. Now let me share a tip with you. When you are selecting the foods you eat, make sure you choose from the power plate. That means fruits, vegetables, legumes and grains. Fruits and vegetables offer protection against heart disease, stroke and premature death from any cause. People who eat 10 servings of fruit and vegetables live longer. Eat plenty of grains and legumes, no counting of calories needed. Aim for at least 50 to 55 grams of fiber each day. Fiber helps with digestion, weight loss, heart health, and cancer prevention. And soluble fiber helps lower cholesterol. For optimal health, choose complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates, they are mostly found in whole plant foods. Maintain their natural fiber and fuel your body with the energy it needs. Limit simple carbohydrates such as added sugars, syrups, and white flour like maida, which is so common in our Indian cuisine. These provide quick energy but have been stripped of nutrients and fiber. So take home message if you want to prevent and reverse diabetes. Instead of having chai with milk, sugar and biscuits, have tea without milk and sugar with oatmeal breakfast. For lunch, instead of meat curry or chicken curry, have dal bhat with rice. For dinner, instead of fried chicken or fried fish, choose nutritious bhindi with chapatis. Avoid animal products and go plant-based.